Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another important and informative video on Singapore's visa-free transit facility. So in this video, we'll understand what is Singapore's VFTF, that is visa-free transit facility, how you can make use of this visa-free transit facility and visit Singapore, and most importantly, I'll answer most of the common questions that you asked me in my previous video, which will clarify all your doubts. So without wasting any time, as you can see on my screen, 98% of you who are regularly watching my content are non-subscribers. So highly recommend you to hit that subscribe button and support my channel. Subscribing is free, guys, so please go for it. So Singapore's 96-hour visa-free transit facility in 2025 is something that you can avail at your own benefit on an Indian passport without applying for Singapore visa. Still, you can go to Singapore and visit Singapore for 96 hours. So Singapore has an official website called ICA, and basically, as you can see on my screen, what they're saying on this ICA website is, if you are in transit to or from any third country via Singapore, you may be eligible for the 96-hour VFTF if you meet the requirements. You may enter Singapore by any mode of transport but depart only via air or sea. You must have a valid onward air ferry cruise ticket departing from Singapore within 96 hours, and you must have a valid visa or a long-term pass with a validity of at least 1 month from the date of entry into Singapore, issued by or good for any entry including the following countries, that is Australian visa, Canada, Germany, Japan, New Zealand, Switzerland, UK and United States of America. Travelers with single journey SJV will be granted VFTF on the return leg of their journey after SJV and no longer valid, but you must have travelled directly from the country issued SJV en route to Singapore back to your home country, not have returned to your home country since the last used SJV. So I'll explain you guys. So basically, let's take this as an example. I have a valid Japan visa. If you have not seen my Japan vlogs, please do check it out. I'm still holding a valid Japan visa. But there is a few terms and conditions. I just cannot enter Singapore by holding Japan visa after completing my Japan trip. Here is the catch. So let's take this example. I have a valid Japanese visa which is valid for 3 months, single entry. Now my plan, I went from Bangalore to Tokyo, direct flight. While returning, I make a plan such a way that I come from Tokyo to Singapore. I stay in Singapore for like three days, roughly around 72 hours. And then from Singapore, I take a flight back to Bangalore. Now this is 100% possible. So you can go to Singapore before going to Japan as well. For example, I reverse my plan. I go from Bangalore to Singapore. I stay in Singapore, I do a 3-day trip in Singapore, and I can take a direct flight from Singapore to Tokyo. This is what the VFTF is telling. Now, I know there are a lot of questions, lot of unanswered questions in this VFTF. So let me take the questions of my previous video and address it in this video, guys. As you can see on my screen, I'll just pop in each and every question that is asked by you guys, and I'll try to answer that a bit briefly. So Rahul is asking, hi, if I have layover of 9 hours, can I visit Singapore or not? Definitely you can visit Singapore, but you must hold any of those visas that is mentioned in ICA and meet the requirements and eligibility criteria, like just how I gave an example of Bangalore to Japan and Japan to Singapore and Singapore back to Bangalore. Now, another misconception here is I cannot go to Singapore now holding a Japan visa because the next flight either has to be from Singapore to Japan or I should have returned from Japan to Singapore. Now, I cannot go with a Japanese visa to only Bangalore to Singapore and Singapore to Bangalore. I hope you got your answer for your question, and this is straightforward. So next question is, Malar is asking, what if I have a Chinese visa? Is it possible to come to India via Singapore without transit visa? No. China is not on the list for an Indian passport holder, Malar. So it is not possible for you to come via Singapore to India because Chinese visa is not supported on an Indian passport for Singapore's 96-hour visa-free transit facility. So the next question is, travel with Naveen is asking, I am going to Malaysia via Singapore, but I have a US visa. Can I avail transit visa? Also, ticket from Malaysia to Delhi has to be same PNR or different PNR? This is a good question. Now, US visa has got so many visa types. It's got F1, L1, H1B, H2B, etc. But the visa that is valid for Singapore visit will be B2 visa. So, if you have a business to, that is B2 visa only, you will be eligible for this visa-free transit facility. However, even people who have B1, B2 visa were denied entry to Singapore. A few months back, one user reached out to me on Instagram. So what I would recommend is email the airlines or email the consulate, Singapore consulate in your city, and get a direct confirmation email. If you are not getting any response from Singapore consulate of your own country, then try to reach out to the email ID or call Singapore helpline and try to get a confirmation email saying that you are coming from US or you're transiting in Singapore, or you will be transiting in Singapore and then going back to United States. So the next question, Forum Chedda is asking, I have a 10 years US visa, Indian passport, can I go directly to Singapore? Yes, you have a 10-year US visa, but what kind of visa is what matters. If you have a B1 or a B2, especially B2 visa, then you have no problem at all in visiting Singapore directly from US to Singapore and Singapore to India, or US to India and flying back to US. You can go from India to Singapore and Singapore back to US. I hope that I answered your question. Next is Mr. Kant is asking, I have a Schengen visa provided by Spain, Indian passport holder, can I get transit visa to SG? Spain is not included in the list of Schengen visas in Singapore website. Only Germany is included and one more country I guess, but Spain is not included. So you will not be eligible for VFTF, that is visa free transit facility. Raj is asking, what documents are required to submit during the immigration? Very good question. This question is most asked question, guys. So basically, let's take the same example of me visiting Bangalore to Tokyo, Tokyo to Singapore, and Singapore to Bangalore. Now I completed my trip from Bangalore to Tokyo. Now I'm in Tokyo airport. I go from Tokyo to Singapore. As soon as I enter Singapore, they're going to check the valid visa. So visa is there, visa is correct. Now they'll check my onward flight. My onward flight is to India, that is Bangalore, 100% done, eligibility criteria met, tick mark. Next question is, if you are eligible, where are you staying in Singapore? You definitely need your hotel bookings. So you have to show the hotel bookings. It is not compulsory that every immigration officer will ask the hotel booking, but safer to carry hotel booking and around 100 to 200 US dollars or Singapore dollars. So this is all they will ask, and you have to exit within 96 hours. If you do not exit within 96 hours, there will be huge complications again when coming back to India. I hope I answered your question. Next question is, Bhavya is asking, what about South Korean tourist visa? Is it still allowed, or do we get free tour? No, South Korea visa is not eligible for Singapore's visa free transit facility on an Indian passport, because South Korea visa has been dropped or it's not there from an ICA website. I'm not sure, because a lot of people did tell me that South Korea visa was part of the ICA website and we used to get visa free transit facility. But now South Korea has been dropped, guys. So it is not there in ICA website, in VFTF website. So you will not be eligible for free visa transit facility in Singapore. Next question is by Biswa. He's asking, I have a layover in Singapore and I need to change the terminal for the connecting flight. Do I have to have a Singapore visa? Now, if your PNR is same, you do not need a visa, guys. So for example, same example, Bangalore to Tokyo, I'm going from Bangalore to Tokyo and my transit is in Singapore. If it is the same PNR, then I don't need any kind of visa. I can change the terminal also and I can go to Tokyo. But if it is not same PNR, if it is a separate airline from Singapore, definitely you need to have one of those visas, or you need to have a Singapore visa. Otherwise, you will be denied entry into Singapore and you will miss your flight to Tokyo. I hope this information is very clear. This is a huge misconception again. So I hope there is one more question. Yeah, there is another question. David Williams is asking, traveling from Kuala Lumpur to Kochi and I have 20 hours layover in Singapore. Am I eligible for transit visa? I don't have any other country visa except UAE. No, UAE visa again is not included in Singapore's visa free transit facility. It is not there. So with UAE visa, you will not be eligible to visit Singapore. You will have to take a Singapore visa and then only visit Singapore. Next question. Purti is asking, hello sir, I'm going to Thailand for tour, 12 12 hours layover in Changi, am I eligible for free transit visa? No, you will not be eligible if you're going to Thailand because you do not have any visas that I just mentioned on the ICA website. So I hope you're clear with that. Please go back and check the ICA website and carry one of these visas to be eligible for visa-free transit facility. Those were the questions, guys. I hope I answered some of the questions at least, so that you're clear with the process and what needs to be done when you're going to Singapore and availing this Singapore's 96-hour visa-free transit facility. Remember, go back to my first example that I explained in this video, how to avail the visa-free transit facility. I gave you an example by taking Bangalore to Tokyo in between Singapore. You can heavily plan that, or if you have a US visa, no problem, you can transit via Singapore, go to US, or the best practice is come from US to India, and while going back to US, take a transit for Singapore Airlines, enjoy your time like 2 to 3 days in Singapore and then go back to USA. So I hope this video was very, very informative. Any more questions apart from this? I hope I have answered most or all of your questions, guys, because these were the most common questions that I put out. I wanted to address these questions. I hope this information was very, very helpful. I'll catch you guys in my next video.